For hanging out with us on a Friday night, 5 o'clock. You got Boise State hoops starting at 8:30. Our coverage on KBOI at 8 with Bob and Abe. You got NFL this weekend, Prater, the finale of the regular season. You have the FCS National Championship, Montana, South Dakota State on Sunday. We hate it, but probably still peek over and give that a look. All in all, a pretty nice little sports weekend that is going to prepare us for Monday, where I can't stop thinking about that natty. I just can't. Washington, Michigan for everything. I can't get it out of my head, man.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a big one, but lots of stuff happening before then in terms of the big weekend. NFL games tomorrow, NFL games on Sunday. Lots to decide in the NFL. We got some NFL business to take care of, Johnny.
Yeah, and we were just kind of taking a peek. We looked at some contract situations and the future of current Boise State players in the NFL. Current NFL players from Boise State. Let me rephrase that to make some sense. And Prater, I mean, some players are in decent position. Some players will still be under contract and will have. I ain't got no worries. But there are some players where they're going to have some worries. And I don't know if some of these guys will be in the NFL next season, talking ex-Broncos right now. Where do you want me to start on this?
I'm going to give you a list of names. And let's say half of these guys, and maybe even more, are because the NFL, you guys know how the NFL
so
works.
Hard. Yeah.
All right. I think half these guys, at least half these guys, are going to be looking for new NFL teams starting on Monday, however long the process takes. Cedric Wilson, you and I both agree that we think he's done with the Miami Dolphins after this weekend. There's a contract out. There's a void in his contract. They can save some money, and by all indications that Cedric Wilson is going to be moving on from the Miami Dolphins.
I agree with that.
Ezra Cleveland in Jacksonville, done. Tyreek Jones with the Colts, done. Who knows about Brett Rippon floating around, getting jobs all over the place? Probably done, but who knows with that guy? Jeremy McNichols getting a quick cup of coffee after hanging on in the league for a long time. Now with the 49ers, probably done as well. And then you have to dive into players like Leighton Vander Esch. What's going on with that dude? How about Charles Leno as a potential guy? How about Alexander Madison as another potential guy on the move? Anything is possible in the National Football League. The other names I didn't name because I think those are going to be fine. You think they're going to be fine, ball game, but that's the list you probably want to start looking at over these next few weeks.
Yeah, and just a couple of those that you didn't name that'll be fine. Let me just throw them in there. Avery Williams.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's hurt and hasn't played. Yeah.
And John Bates.
Yeah, they're all still in the
totally
rookie
under contract. They're going to be fine.
And same with Shakir, and same with J.L. Skinner, same with Scott Matlock. Scott Matlock is only in the second year. I mean, he's not even an unrestricted free agent until 2027, but he could still get cut. But yeah, there's a lot of players out there that I think are going to stick around.
DeMarcus Lawrence has made more money in professional sports, we think, than any other Boise State athlete ever, regardless of the sport. Tank still has time on his deal, Prater. I know it's a pretty penny they have to pay him, but there's a lot of money. It's going to be weird for the Cowboys. I think they're going to first try to get Tank to restructure. Maybe they'll give him an extra year, but it's going to be less money. I mean, he's got, I think it's 3.5 or 4 sacks this year for Tank. And I know if everybody who talks about DeMarcus Lawrence says he's one of those guys, don't tell me how good or bad he is by his sack total. He does a million other things that are much more important. He's just not a 10, 11 sack guy a year anymore. I wonder what he's going to do with the Cowboys if he has another year or two left. If he does get cut, what his market value is. For me, Tank, and I'll throw in Leighton Vander Esch just because I've loved following LVE's career. I don't know why. I've rooted for him, the small town guy from Riggins on the blue. But I don't know if LVE, Prater, he got hurt again.
And yeah, but he's got 1 year left on his contract. It's $3 million, so it's cheap. And DeMarcus Lawrence, back to him. I think you're crazy thinking that the Cowboys and DeMarcus Lawrence aren't going to be together again next year. He's only got the 1 year left on his contract. It's a $10 million hit. That's absolutely nothing. I would imagine, from my perspective, the Cowboys let that play out and probably just let the contract dry out. And he probably moves back to the Trace Valley. I know he's got a home and a family here in the Trace Valley. Probably ends up back here, and who knows doing what.
Alexander Madison.
I did mention him.
Yeah,
he's got one more contract for next year. He's got a $3.3 million contract going into 2024, becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2025. He's only 25 years old. I think Alexander Mattison, he might switch teams, but I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I just don't know if the Vikings are going to want to do this again. They owe him 4.6 next year. If they cut him, they can save $600,000. So it doesn't really do any good to keep him or cut him. It just depends on whether or not they want him in the building and they want to spend $4.6 million for a running back next year that they now know is not an RB1 in this league. I think that's too much money to spend for an RB2, and I think that's what Alexander Mattison is right now.
Cedric Wilson have any value left in the NFL?
Yeah, because he's come on in the last couple weeks with Jalen Waddle being hurt, with Tyreek being hurt. Such a nice piece for Miami to be able to plug him in there, and he's had some big plays for them. I don't think it happens in Miami, but I can see another team taking a stab at Cedric Wilson. He'll probably be cheap, right? I mean, you can get a guy to come in. I don't know what he is as far as age goes. 20, late 20s.
He's still in his 20s. Yeah,
he's
definitely
still in his 20s there. So, maybe him and Kellen can reunite.
Oh, stop it. They don't play
Prater,
that game in the NFL. Come on. They don't play that game in the NFL.
Prater,
so
coaches love guys, and they'll bring them around. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. And Cedric hasn't been that productive. Last week he only caught 2 passes. The week before that he caught 3.
Yeah.
His season high was 4 passes, and that was in October. And his target ratio was massive. So they're throwing him the ball a lot. He's not catching a lot of passes. He's only got 1 touchdown in the last 6 weeks. I think Cedric Wilson's days in Miami are done.
I do too. I don't know if he's going to latch on with somewhere. I would think he would. What about Kellen? Let's get to that part of this little segment here, Prater.
Yeah, Kellen's a tricky one. I would suspect that I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to clean house on Monday because they have an interim coach and they're going to go off and find another coach? Is that happening overnight? No. Is this process going to happen overnight? No. Do I expect the Chargers to put out a release? We're sweeping out all the coaches and starting over? Maybe. I suppose Dean Spanos could do that, but I suspect Kellen Moore will be phased out in Los Angeles. I'm not sure it's going to happen on Black Monday, but we might just get the entire guillotine press release. They're all gone.
I think so. The only objection I would have to that would be maybe the Chargers want to wait and see with Kellen if whatever coach they do hire wants to come in and retain him. Mike McCarthy did that when he got the gig. I think that was probably forced on him by the Joneses. Kellen's going to be your OC, we think is brilliant. I don't know if the Spanos family would feel that way or if even they would keep that door even open, Prater. 208.
I don't think he's done enough to stay and to create that kind of credibility cachet.
I don't
within
think he
the Chargers.
He had it with Dallas.
I don't think he has it anymore.
He doesn't have it with the Chargers.
No.
Prater, sadly, I think Kellen Moore is coaching at another team next year. Hopefully it's a good situation. Hopefully he's a play calling coordinator, but that might be stripped too. It might be quarterback coach. It might be a non-play calling offensive coordinator role, like you have a lot of coaches that do right now. You're the OC, but you're not calling the plays. Some coaches are okay with that. Some coaches aren't. But
if he gets a job as a coordinator play caller, based on the fact that the Cowboys let him go last year, the Chargers are letting him go this year, that somebody would be taking a monster leap of faith in Kellen Moore. And we all believe in Kellen Moore here in Boise, Idaho. In the NFL world, I'm not so much sure how marketable he is right now. He's going to get a job. Some people suggest that maybe he needs to take a step back, be that quarterback coach, work for a mentor, work for somebody that can kind of help him out a little bit, polish some of this stuff up a little bit. But I think any of those scenarios are fine. If he lands and becomes a coordinator play caller, I think he'll be just fine moving forward. We'll see how it plays out. But he needs to land somewhere where he can get a little stability.
A nice place. Detroit's losing Ben Johnson, their OC. He'll get a head coach. I don't know what they're going to do, but if he could get a place like that where you have a lot in the cupboard in place, I think Kellen could thrive at a place like Detroit, but you never know. Maybe you go to the absolute opposite of Detroit. You go to a team, he goes to the Commanders, who have no clue what they're doing on offense. If they give Bieniemy the head coaching job, or Eric Bieniemy goes and gets another head coaching job, whatever the case may be. He wants to stay in the NFL. He'll be in the NFL Kellen Moore will. But as for where he's gonna go, man,
You said it makes sense for him to go to Detroit.
yeah, because they're
Does it
gonna lose
really?
their OC and
I
they
know,
got a
but-
good offense.
I know, but come on, man. Think about this. Kellen Moore working with Dan Campbell. You think Kellen Moore looks at himself in the mirror when he's shaving the 4 hairs on his chin that he actually wants to go work for Dan Campbell? I mean, Dan Campbell, I mean,
Yeah.
I think Kellen Moore is a chameleon. I think Kellen Moore is smart. I think Kellen Moore can work with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But man, that's a lifestyle choice working for Dan Campbell. And I'm not sure Kellen Moore wants
He's
to go
just
there.
too intense for Kellen, like personality. He doesn't. I mean, Kellen went and worked with Brandon Staley. His ass got fired by Halloween or
But
whatever.
is Brandon
like,
Staley just a raging,
No,
just a
he's
raging
calm guy.
lunatic
No, he's not.
who drops the F-bomb every 3 words?
He's not.
I mean, Kellen Moore's never said the F word in his life. He's never said the H word, the S word, the D word. You know, when he says damn, he's talking about salmon in Washington, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he is.
And going to work for Dan Campbell, who drops the F-bomb every 3 words, 24/7, 365.
Was Campbell a big swearer on Hard Knocks? You remember that? I can't remember.
Yeah,
he was one of those.
Veins popping, and just a
Well,
Neanderthal of exactly what you would expect. And I like Dan Campbell. I appreciate him.
Yeah, I do too.
We've all grown to love what he's
Yeah,
doing, but and maybe Kellen just doesn't care. He just wants a job. But I think he's going to be marketable enough where he's going to have a few options, not a lot of options, but a few. And him working for Dan Campbell, I don't see that at all.
What do you guys think? 208-424-9300 on our Cloverdale Plumbing text line. Where could you see Kellen next year? In what role in the NFL? Send us your thoughts. We'll read some of those on Feedback Finale. Prater, Kellen Moore's offensive coordinator, his senior year. Brent Pease.
Now playing for a national championship with the Grizz on Sunday. Coaching, yes. Offensive coordinator, quarterback for the Grizz. Noon on Sunday, ABC. And we might have a little bit of a couple of Kellen Moore questions for him.
Oh, let's do it. Brent Pease, former Boise State assistant coach, offensive coordinator, with us right here, 5 o'clock on a Friday on Prater and the Ballgame. Next.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic